Thank you. Hold on. Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead. Say it again. What made him want to join?
The reason I wanted to join was the military. In 1941, we were attacked in Pearl Harbor, if you remember. Pearl Harbor was attacked with all our boys. And that's the time when everyone wanted to join the service. We have fellas that worked in our mines that wanted to go to the service, but they wouldn't let them. They would not let them discharge from the mines to go serve their country because they were mining iron ore, and they needed this iron ore for steel to build bridges, to build tanks, and all that. So these miners had to work. They could not leave their jobs to join the service. And I know one fellow by the name of John Harvish. He was 20-some years old. What he done, he quit the mines. He quit the mines and went and joined the service. You know, those that worked underground and produced iron ore for our country, they did not go in the mine. They wanted to go in the service, but they couldn't. They wouldn't let them.
Thank you. Mason Devins.
Well, when I got back to my family, it's like they're so happy to see you home. And when you do, the first thing you do is you go look for work. That's what it was back then in the 40s. You went and looked for work. And we couldn't find work. There was no work. So then the government came out with a check that you got, like unemployment you have today. It was called the 52. Was called the 5220 Club. That's what it was called, 5220 Club. And you probably wonder what the 5220 Club. No, I got that wrong. It was a 2052 Club. What it is you got $20 a week for 52 weeks. That was your unemployment check from the government.
$20 a week. So we have a couple of students that have to leave for ninth period, right? Huh? They're good? Oh, okay, good. All right, next, Gavin Spence.
Let me ask you, what beds? You don't have any beds in the front lines. All you have is dirt, and you dug a foxhole to protect yourself. There's your bed. No beds in the service. The only bed you had is when you were in the States training and all that. Even after the war was over, we didn't have any beds. We got shipped to France to wait orders to come to the States, and we slept on cots. It's a canvas cot. You opened it up, that was your bed.
I'm sure you felt lucky to even have one of those.
You felt lucky to even have a cot.
That's true. I was lucky to have a cot after sleeping on the ground for so long.
Yeah. Kira LaPointe.
Any place, and you're in the front lines, any place is the hardest place to travel. And you've done a lot of walking in the service, from one town to another. You take one town, you go into another town, sometimes you have to come back and take that town over again. And some of the towns that you take, usually the artillery fires in that town. And the artillery, they shell it, and they shell all they can on that town before you enter. But someone made a mistake. We had a town to take, and we went in and took the town. We figured it was all shelled and all that. The minute we got in town, we got shelled. And it really dropped everything on us. And we huddled up in a small ball to get protected from being injured. When the shelling was all over, then we got up and we continued on from house to house searching for soldiers. But the shells that we got were so loud, they used to shoot phosphorus shells at us. Concussion shells. Concussion shells, when they exploded, they were so loud, it would tear everything in your head off. Because I had a buddy on my right, he must have been close to a concussion shell went off. And when it was time to move in, we thought each other were going in, and he didn't answer me. So I went to see him, and he was dead. There was blood coming out of his nose, his mouth, his ears, and even his eyes. And he was not hit. The concussion was so great, it just ruptured everything in him.
Wow. Antoinette Brown.
One more time.
What did to pass time?
What did I do to pass time? Let me ask you, when you're in front line, what is it you can do? Nothing. You're just there to watch yourself and keep the enemy from getting to you. There's no pastime. There was no leisure. You're on the front line 24 hours a day, all the time. And very, very seldom you get relief. Like I said, the first relief we got was in March, since we left England. That was the first relief we got, and we only got 3 days of rest, and showered, and clean clothes and all that, and then back to the front lines we went. Oh, well, I really don't know how many miles from the Har to Germany. I know from the Har, we stepped in open field. If we found a cow barn, it was heaven. It was heaven when we found a cow barn to sleep in. And all across there, I don't know. All I know is bad, because just below Bastogne, the Battle of the Bulge, just below Bastogne, we took the town, we jumped off there. It was on the Siegfried line. We jumped off at 2300. 2300 is 11 o'clock at night. That's when we jumped off the Siegfried line to take over the pillboxes on the German side. It took us about a day and a half to get them, but we got them all. And we took the town of Dickweiler. Below Bastogne was Osweiler, and then Dickweiler. We were in Dickweiler. The 417 took Osweiler.
Great, thank you. Carson Giddings. Favorite part?
There's no favorite part. Get the war over, come back home. Get the war over so we all can live in the land of the free.
That's right. Very good. Chelsea Briette. Say it again.
Was it scary going to new places you've never been before?
You mean during the war?
Yeah.
It's not scary. It's just one town after another. You get used to it. Usually, like I say, usually in towns they shell them before you can get in, but not all towns happens that way. And then we had one town that they were going to take over, and they were shelling it, and it was just like the 4th of July. And I looked on my left, I can hear this fella crying. This fellow was crying like a baby. And I looked on my left, and it was Tony Moreau, a very good friend of mine. He came down from the side, no helmet, no rifle, and he had his hands in front of him like this, crying. And I said, gee, nobody went to him. So I got up, he knew me well. I got up, I said, you're all right, Tony, everything is fine. And I took my hand, I put on his, and I can feel him just nudge me a little bit. He knew who it was, and I brought him back to the medics. I never heard any more after that. And this man was a well-dressed man, a well-built man, and he was a very nice man. He was a boxer, strong as an ox, and he became shell-shocked. That's how bad it is when you're in the service sometimes. And a little fellow like me, take him by the hand and bring him back to the medics. But he knew who it was. And I said to myself, the other fellows didn't help him because they wouldn't know what would happen to them. Maybe he's shell-shocked. But him and I, we got along good, and I brought him back to the medics. And then after I left the medics, I had to go back up to where our friends were, our fellows were. And on the way up, all of a sudden, this German soldier comes up behind a rock with his hands on his head. And I was just about ready to shoot when I looked and I saw his face. I said, I can't shoot him. It was only a kid. This kid could not have been more than 15 years old. German uniform, German overcoat in the winter. You couldn't see his shoes, his coat was so long. I took him back to the medics, and then I came back up front to join the rest of the fellows. But a surprise like that gets you killed. That is a surprise. And I sure got surprised that he could have killed me right off the bat. I never saw him. It's a good thing he had his hands on his shoulder, on his head, and stepped out of behind this boulder, or I would have shot him.
Next question is Jaslyn. Stand up. Yep, thank you. Jaslyn?
You wear a helmet to protect you from getting hit from a shell. I mean, it may not protect you from a bullet direct hit, but it sure could glance off. And other shrapnel shells, it would protect you. Because we got caught into a wooded area by the Germans. We were caught in a wooded area, and they shelled us. I mean, we were huddled up in a small ball, and they were shelled, and they were called tree bursts. It's a mortar shell. When the mortar shell hits the ground, it bursts. But these mortar shells bursted in the air. And when they burst in the air, they can scatter all over. That's why they were called tree bursts. And those tree bursts were terrible. We were all huddled up, and you can hear the soldiers crying, help, help, medics. And you couldn't move. You didn't dare move because you probably would be the next one who got hit from these tree burst shells. But after they got done shelling, then we went into action. Those were able to us. And there was one soldier on the ground. He couldn't say nothing. And we waited for the medics to come with the stretchers. And the three of us put our hands under him to lift him up onto the stretcher. I was in the middle. I put my two hands under him, and we picked him up, put him on the stretcher. My hand pretty much went right through his back. He didn't have any back left. And when we put him on the stretcher, we went to the next person. I told him, he'll never make it to the ambulance. That's how bad he was. So we helped the next fellow. We helped him, and you get him done. We go to the next one. You get him done, and I have to look on my right. There was a soldier. He was decapitated. I said, that's it. I didn't look anymore. Someone else. Them tree burst was terrible. We really got hit bad.
All right, that's all the questions that I have that we submitted ahead of time. Was there anybody, are we still good to do a few more? Okay. Was there anybody that had a question that would like to ask Mikhail?
What was it like, what? Riding a snake.
Hold on, guys.
I didn't ride the tank. The only tank I got to ride is when I jumped up to save my life. I jumped in the front and hooked, hanged on onto the gun and brought me back. Because outside that, I never rode a tank. We walked. And if you see movies, you always see these tanks in the war. They're always up there. No. The infantry's up there, the tanks are right behind us. The reason we were always in the front. When we needed a tank, we couldn't break through, we called for the tank. They would come up and open up a hole for us to go through. But most of the time, the infantrymen were in the front, not the tanks.
Good question. Who else? Let's see. Who is that? Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead. Paxton. Sorry. Stand up, buddy.
It's great to see your family after the war. I mean, they're glad to see you, and you're sure glad to see them, because, you know, our family isn't like, not nice to say, isn't like today. Back then, all families had to work. All families helped each other. They all helped one another to cook, bring food here, bring food there, because they were all miners. I came from a little mining town, like you have, not too far from here, Line Mountain. That was a mining town. Mineville was a mining town, and we were all together.
Good. Yes, Jacob. Is there? Or no, I'm sorry, Ethan. Go ahead. Stand up.
What do you think for Noah and Cycle and Ankle stuff? Like a Smith space and
Oh, I have no idea. Like I said, I never rode a tank. The only ride I got was to save my life. I was on the outside hanging on.
Good. Is that Lily? Yep, Lily.
The question, if I would go back in the service and do it again, all I know is I go back tomorrow so that we can all live in the land of the free.
That's very nice. That's great. Mark.
No. When we were in the front lines, we just get moved in the communities that we went. We weren't near the concentration camps because they brought in a different area.
Luke DeLong.
I was in the military the 5th of April, 1944, till the 22nd of May, 1946.
I bet every day. Counting that. Yes. Go ahead. Is it Catherine? Go ahead. Catherine, right? Who's over there? Yes. Behind Wyatt. Yes. Stand up. Sorry, I thought you were somebody else. Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know how to answer that, but I'm glad I was in the military because we lost so many nice people. We lost so many nice soldiers just so we can be free.
Julia. Well, he just answered that, I think.
They said how long you did the service.
Oh, okay.
How long were you after?
At war, well, when we landed in Le Havre the second week of January, right after that, we started right across Belgium, the Ardennes, right from there till the war was over in Germany on the Rhineland on May 8th. No, for me, it was from January to May, because I'm one of the younger ones.
Colin Haglund.
No, I have no idea. The only one I did see is George Patton once. He came in town, and the town was completely surrounded with tanks. He came in, just said a few words, and away he went, and we went our way. Because we were not great for General Patton. Not all blood and guts. We're not crazy for him.
Catherine.
The quietest moment? We didn't have any quiet moments. The only quiet moment was when the war was over and we were all happy. That was our quiet moment.
All right.
I was in the 76th Infantry Division, the 304th Infantry Regiment, the 3rd Battalion, Company I, 1st Platoon,
Wow.
1st Squad also.
Like it was yesterday. Dean, stand up.
What was it like, how did you feel like after the war? How did you feel after the war?
The war was over, like I said, with our family, you go out and get a job. That's what it is, you help your people. And there was no work. Whatever work you can get, you're done. I have my brothers, all three of my brothers worked in the mines. I had a brother, 22 years old, was killed in the mines. I'm the only one that didn't go in the mines. I worked on the surface. I would not go in the mines after I lost my brother. When I lost my brother, I was only 14, no, I was only 12 years old. And when you're 12 years old, you don't really think of that much. But I lost my brother at 12 years of age.
Liz, is that? Yes. Who has their hand up behind you, Mrs. Trombley? I can't really see over there.
Let's go over 10 first.
No. You're always there to protect them, and they're there to protect you. Your buddies. That's what your buddies are for. You have foxhole buddies, and they stay with you all the time. We had, at one time, I forgot what town we were in Germany, and we were getting low on soldiers. And they brought in, I think, in our group, they brought in 5, and we called them repo because they only had about 5 weeks of training. They didn't have no training. So they brought these 5 in front of us, and they said, someone take one of these and keep them with you, show them what has to be done. Well, 4 of them were picked, and this other fellow wasn't picked, and he was standing there. And they said, well, somebody take him so that he knows what to do. And we didn't want nobody. We know what we're going through. We're not going to stay there and tell this guy what to do and how to do it. You had all you can do to save your own life. And he stood there, and then for the longest time, nobody done it. His name was Howard Kelly from New York. I said to myself, I'll take him. Good, John. So he came with me. And the first thing I told Howard, I said, listen, Howard, I'm not going to tell you anything. You watch me. I said, when I hit the ground, you hit it. When I get up, you get up. And you don't move until I move. I brought him home. He came home with me. Otherwise, they don't know what to do. They have to be taught how to do it. And I'm not going to be there telling them, well, you got to do this, or you got to do that. No, I'm doing it. You watch me and do what I do. He came home.
That's great. Mrs. Trombley, do you want to call people? Yeah. Bryson? Bryson, sit down. Next.
What's my opinion of Hitler, what he done to the people and the children is terrible. It's terrible.
All right, let's do, Sam, we'll do just a couple more. Okay. Okay, I had a hard time hearing her. So we are not done. Sit up, Stop talking to each other. Thank you.
What would I do? Today, if I saw one, I don't know, I would just have a conversation with what we went through. I saved this boy. There's times, even today, there's times I think, I wonder if that boy that I saved and brought back, if he's still alive, this German soldier. I don't know. What can you say? You can't hate him? I mean, we're all Americans. You can't hate them. We treated the soldiers just as good as our own boys when they got hurt. They got medication. They were treated well. They went to the hospital, first aid stations. They were just treated just as well as we were. Maybe our boys didn't get treated like that, but we treated them good. Well, my parents came over from Italy in 1920, and they couldn't speak good English. Matter of fact, when I started school, they told me that I couldn't speak English either. So, it's hard for me to start school when you don't speak English. Their English was broken. I mean, they came from the old country. They couldn't do it. That's the way it is.
Cooper.
What were some of the training challenges for when you were being trained, and how difficult were some of them?
What were some of the training challenges when you were in training, and how difficult were some of them? What did they have to do?
Well, they had us, like I said, go through open fields, wet, muddy, crawl. They trained you how to crawl the proper way. They trained you how to walk. And you used to go on hikes, 10, 12, 15-mile hikes. And you come in probably 2 o'clock in the morning all tired. You'd have blisters on your heels from walking. And then there's fellows that didn't make it. They were on the side of the road. They just couldn't make it anymore. So the ambulance would pick them up. But they didn't get away with it. Because when another outfit nearby went on the hike, he had to go with them. So you all had to have your hikes. You had 10 miles, you had 15 miles. I think one time, I swore we probably went 20 miles. We never stopped. And when you did stop, you rest standing up. And if somebody didn't budge you, you'd probably be still standing there. You're so tired, falling asleep.
All right, Jacob. Stand up, buddy. Stand up.
Kind of what?
Weapons.
What kind of weapons?
I had what they call a Garand rifle. It's an M1. An M1. And you never call a rifle anything else but a rifle or a weapon. You never call it a gun. The only gun you hear when it's spoken is when somebody uses a machine gun. Outside of that, it's a weapon or a gun. You have the M1 Garand, you have the BAR, they're all guns.
Great. Let's do one more. Taylor. Deaf or blind? Did anybody go deaf or blind?
Not blind, but many of them went deaf. And you're talking to one of them. I mean, I'm not deaf, I can hear, but I can't hear you talk. That's why I have to have somebody tell me what it is. This year I can't hear it hardly at all.
All right. Well, thank you so much. What do you guys say?